Misyar marriage, which is allowed in Islam. Misyar means التنازل عن بعض الحقوق, that a woman steps down from parts of her rights. It's allowed.
There are some really strong allegations against Muhammad Hijab coming out. The type that put his character under question and make him look less than righteous. This is a big problem because Hijab is a spokesman for Islam. And if he's behaving in a slimy way, treating women in the Muslim community awful, and especially if those slimy ways are condoned by the religion, then we have a huge problem. What happened is Hijab took advantage of a single Muslim woman and had a secret marriage with her, giving her false promises of love and taking care of her, and then leaving her empty-handed. On top of this is so damaging that Muhammad Hijab threatened to sue the channel that exposed the situation. We also know that Ali Dawah was involved. He interviewed this woman but refused to put the video up because of his buddy Hijab. He tried to do damage control. Hijab tried to silence her, threatened her, uploaded an anonymous video with an AI voice to try to make her look bad. We're gonna cover all of this. In Islam, marriage is not straightforward. There are different kinds of nikah to choose from. Maybe you want something long-term like a traditional marriage. Maybe you're already married and you're seeking a second wife. Maybe you're seeking something short-term where it's polygamous but potentially has an expiration date. Or maybe you want a hookup type marriage. That's possible too. Yes, you heard that right. In Islam, there's a certain type of marriage which is called Misyar marriage, where a woman gives up certain rights in exchange for a partnership with someone. While Misyar itself does not have an expiration date per se, such marriages have a high rate of failure, which makes them end almost as soon as they begin. Now, the crazy thing is, Hijab tried to get into a Misyar marriage, but he wasn't honest about it. He didn't tell her that that's what he was planning to do. He didn't tell her that he was only going to meet her in hotel rooms for sex, treat her like a girlfriend, not tell her family that he was married to her, or not treat her in any other way like a true wife. This all happened after they started sleeping together. Today, Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim is going to cover Muhammad Hijab's secret wife, who goes by the name of Aisha. She's going to react to Aisha's testimony about what it's like being married to Muhammad Hijab, why it ended, and what her personal thoughts are on polygamous and Misyar marriage. Things are about to get real for Hijab. He thought threatening Aisha would make this go away, but it didn't. It's gone viral now, and we have all the receipts to show you. Let's get into it. To begin, this is a rapidly evolving story, and some updates are necessary. Hijab put out a damage control video on another YouTube channel called False Accusations. But in this video, he doesn't actually just plainly say, "I never married her." Instead, there's an attempt to make her look bad and desperate and make it appear like she agreed to this. All that he achieved, though, is to actually make her case stronger, show that the communication was real and this isn't made up. On top of it, people are actually calling him out, Muslims. "Bro, I am not taking sides, but your video is not as convincing as theirs. You show zero proof. If she is a stalker, then you should have no difficulty to prove that. You showed old messages between you that didn't prove anything. On the contrary, it proves that you have called her. In your video, you proved nothing, and I ask myself, why didn't you put the video on your channel? Seems fishy. If you have done something stupid, own it and be clear about it. Don't try to run away from it because your followers are not stupid." Another reply said, "All you had to do was respond to what the sister said and leave it at that." And another person said, "It seems some messages in the video were deleted." Of course, there's also a bunch of Hijab fans who are blaming the Jews. Apparently, they're at fault again.
I'm just going to cut to the chase here and start playing the video. The original audio uploaded by Aisha is from a channel called Behind Veils, where they talk about the underbelly of the Dawah community. There's actually some interesting stuff on there that you would never otherwise hear about in the grapevine of the Islamic community. There was a lot of stuff that even I didn't know. But anyways, let's roll this clip and get started. So what you're about to listen to is the testimony of Aisha, Muhammad Hijab's secret ex-wife. Let me also say that she is not wife number 1. She might be wife number 2, 3, or 4. It's important to know that this was not a regular marriage. This is a polygamous Misyar marriage. She entered as a single mother of a little girl. However, Hijab did not disclose to her that it was Misyar at the time of her nikah. Let's listen to what Aisha has to say.
I never thought that one day I'm going to have to come out publicly on social media and speak about something like this. People who work for Islam and to protect our religion have always been more than family to me. And Muhammad Hijab in specific, I had a lot of respect and trust in him because of how scholars are praising him worldwide, and obviously because of his position and his knowledge and all of that. I'm going to share this today not because I want to, but because I have to. And I take an oath in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm only going to be sharing the truth. And my purpose is for the truth to prevail and for justice to be served and for there to be accountability, and that we don't give unconditional impunity to our elites, because this is not how our religion has been preserved. This is the story of my marriage to Muhammad Hijab and how his actions that he claimed are permissible by Allah have completely destroyed my life.
Okay, so this is Aisha, and she's going to tell the story of her marriage to Muhammad Hijab, not because she wants to, but because she feels she has to. That's important here. Because if you scroll social media and look at any of the rockstar imams, famous imams, whatever you want to call them, there will be radio silence from them. A lot of these so-called elites in the Dawah world will do absolutely nothing to stand by Aisha's side. If anything, they're going to distance themselves from her. We saw this with Imam Nick Pelletier when he exposed the corruption of child abuse at his masjid. Nick himself said he reached out to people like Yasser Qadi, Omar Suleiman, and Yasser Birjas to get them to speak out about this, but silence. I used to look up to a lot of these people myself, but over time I realized that, like the mega church, there's a mega mosque, and there's a lot of corruption in these places. Their content is catered towards a Western audience, imams with neatly trimmed beards, soft voices, and inviting smiles to make it sound as if you can find a home in this community, like this is where you want to belong. I fell for that, and I myself saw a lot of the corruption in real life and online here. People like Aisha are brave, whether she shows her face or not. Her voice and story alone is what we need in this world to unearth the moral rot that is taking place. I want to point out a few things. Hijab has already come out and tried to character assassinate her. But look, she swore by Allah this is true. What she's asking for is not to allow the scholars to have impunity. She wants them to face accountability for what he and others are doing.
I'm coming from a religious family. My father is part of the Dawah himself, organized Dawah work. I was part of an organized Dawah group in my own country growing up since I was a teenager. This is the life that I wanted to have, and I just wanted to make sure that when I die, I'm going to die on the faith of Islam, and I'm going to try my best to spread it everywhere as much as I can. So that's how we met. It was for a Dawah work that was liaised between us through an Islamic institute. He asked me a few questions about myself, if I was married. I told him I was going through a divorce. So he told me that he worked for an Islamic council at the time. He gave me his contact details and told me to contact me if I needed help and to go forward to that council to try and reconcile the marriage. He was very respectful. He was trying to help me. He knew all the details about that case, and he was helping me throughout the whole process.
I think it's easy to fall into these traps, to become mesmerized by these guys because of their fame and what they do for Islam. I personally don't have a high opinion of him and never have, even when I was Muslim. In fact, there were many times in the past he's said and done things, and I just couldn't believe that so many of these rockstar imams still followed him on social media and associated with him. Those types of scenarios will make you start to think as well, that there is like something else going on in their world for these people with so-called the best morals and values, preaching about the value of women, associating with a guy like this. So we have Aisha here, who is a single mother going through a divorce, and she seems to be at a vulnerable place in her life. It makes sense to feel drawn towards someone who seems caring and stable when you're going through something difficult in life. A lot of Muslims are very caring, so him giving her his contact details and understanding her situation aligns with that type of caring behavior. She probably felt like, because of who he is, that he is sort of morally elevated in that way. Like he would be more caring than the average Muslim guy you'd find at the masjid or on the streets. And on top of it, she's been involved in Dawah since childhood. So there's a high relatability factor for wanting someone who does Dawah for a living. Looking at the screenshots from the other video, which are allegedly from Hijab's phone, everything she's saying is adding up so far. Thank you, Hijab, for your damage control video that actually made her case stronger. All I see so far is that she was being truthful.
Fast forward, he started giving me hints that he's interested in getting married to me.
I'm gonna pause here for a second. Notice that the texts end here. He didn't show what happened after January 2022. Hijab clearly wanted to only show the parts where he wasn't talking much. I'm going to believe her here.
He spoke to me about himself, his family, his childhood, his preferences. He told me I am not like your ex-husband. Whatever you see on social media, don't worry, because I'm very good as a husband. My life was extremely hard, and he knew that, and I'm his neighbor. I couldn't understand why he was giving me all those hints every time, but he never took that step. Whenever I found a suitor that I started considering to introduce to my father, it was extremely hard for me to navigate that by myself. Muhammad Hijab used to come back again. This cycle continued a few times. At that stage, I didn't know if he was divorced or not, until he asked for my hands. Formally, he told me, would you like to consider me as a husband? He told me it's going to be polygyny.
The marriage process in Islam is extremely unstable and flaky. She's saying that he was giving her hints that he wanted to get married, like talking about his childhood and family. He is basically showing interest by divulging details about his life, telling her what kind of husband he would be, etc. When I say that the marriage process is extremely unstable and flaky, what I'm referring to here is how guys can breadcrumb you like this, basically lead you on, and all of a sudden, the whole idea of marrying this person is off the table. At any time, Mohammed Hijab can decide he actually doesn't want this, and he'll cut contact with her. Talking to somebody for marriage is simply that, just talking with the intention of marriage. There's really no concept of engagement in Islam, meaning you date, someone asks for your hand, gives you a ring, and then there's a further period of being with this person while you plan a wedding. Sometimes you can make a promise to marry, and that's considered culturally an engagement, but it's not part of the religion and not considered a real status in Islam. There is nikah, aka marriage, and that's it. Any potential you meet, you cannot spend time alone with in any way, whether engaged or not. You can talk for marriage, and that's it. It's quite nerve-wracking to look for potentials, then go through this very awkward talking process and getting the family involved. The process can go on, guys. You can talk to endless guys, constantly being on the edge of your seat, wondering if this is just another waste of time or perhaps the real deal. So when she says that it was hard for her to navigate meeting suitors and introducing them to her family, she's talking about having a wali, meaning a male guardian. There's different opinions on whether or not a woman needs a wali, according to the 4 different madhabs, aka schools of thought. At the time when I married the first time, I was 29. So, for example, the Hanafi madhab says that an adult woman does not need a wali, while the other 3 madhabs say that you do need a wali. I'm not sure of Aisha's situation with her father. Later in the video, she says that her father is very old, which could mean many things. Basically, she is a single mom navigating this by herself. Now, Muslims may say, well, this is why women need a wali, to prevent situations like this. Come on. How many people in the Dawah world are going to tell you to not marry Mohammed Hijab? Having a wali is not some guarantee of finding a good person to marry. Let's not forget that a lot of these men have questionable morals and values at best. So trusting them to vet potential spouses is dicey. Quick pause. If you're thankful we're covering content like this and want more of my takes on women's issues in Islam, join our community on Patreon, links in the description, and subscribe to, as we're going to be deep diving into more such stories.
At that stage in my life, I wasn't ready for polygyny. When he proposed to me, he told me it's polygyny. I asked him to give me some time to pray istikhara. I wasn't sure. But when I thought about it, I thought he's a good man. I think from what I see and from how the scholars are praising him, he is going to be capable of taking care of a big family. He is qawwam, he is a guardian, he is knowledgeable, he is religious, he is pious, and he is praiseworthy. Further to that, he was pushing the idea and reassuring me that I'm going to be very happy with him. He reassured me so many times and told me that I should never worry that he's not going to be keeping this family safe. He told me that he's ready and he's going to be taking care of everything. So there were so many things I took into consideration based on which I built my trust. Muhammad Hijab was trustworthy for me 100% for so many reasons.
Girl, who is ready for polygyny? It's a horrible way to live, splitting time and resources with your spouse. So she says she prayed istikhara, which is basically a special prayer separate from your 5 daily prayers, where you ask Allah for guidance on something. You can pray istikhara for anything, from asking if a potential spouse is right for you, what college to attend, or maybe how to handle something difficult in your life. Something is supposed to happen, either a dream or a good feeling you get, or Allah makes a decision and path easy for you. I prayed istikhara when deciding to marry my first husband, and he died. Sometimes I look back on that part of my life and I wonder why Allah would give me good vibes about a marriage that would end so tragically and destroy my life until I actually left this religion. Obviously, I do not think istikhara works. Look at how that turned out for Aisha. Did praying istikhara and marrying Muhammad Hijab make her life better or worse? She says the scholars are praising him. Her perceptions of him align with what a good man he is. He is knowledgeable about the religion, pious, into Dawah like her. She envisions a family life with him, and he assured her that she would be happy with him. For someone like her, with a hard life and aging parents, it sounds like she senses he will provide security and some beautiful Islamic life with her. She also sounds young, so perhaps she envisions more children in her future. Also, I am sure Muhammad Hijab is very financially well off at this point in his career, being a successful Dawah man. So she might accept polygyny, believing he will fulfill this Islamic duty of taking care of her and her daughter. Also, let's be honest here. When you're a single, divorced mom, your options for a good Muslim spouse will decline to basically nothing. I tried talking to imams, and I either never heard from them again, or I was given the worst options possible, like men old enough to be my father or grandfather. Once I declined these options, I never heard from the imams again. They never followed up. I tried asking other people in my community directly for help with this, but nothing happened. I was young too. Being divorced or a widow leaves a black mark on your life. I'm telling you. Now, I am not saying that every single woman is destined for this fate. But finding someone who is truly a good match, someone who ticks all of your boxes in terms of looks, religion, career, all these things, it's really, really awful. I cannot express how awful it is to be in this predicament. Divorced and widowed Muslim women do have options, but not good options. Someone like Aisha will be propositioned to be a second wife, which is what happened with Muhammad Hijab. I was propositioned to be a second wife. I was also propositioned with Misyar marriage just like this.
A lot of times us as as the women in the relationship of this divorce, we're right away being questioned about, hey, well, why wouldn't you consider being a second, third wife? Like if we're used goods, like if we're only good enough to be a second or third wife. I'm not anti-polygamy if that's what both parties choose, all 3, all 4, all 5 parties, right? But to automatically assume that because we are single mothers, that that's what we should go with, as if we're not deserving to just be the only wife. I think that that's something that is just, to me, it seems very just unique to the Muslim experience.
If she tries to talk to the imam or people in her community about helping her find a spouse, she might be told about 60-year-old Abdul, who's interested.
But I will tell you, and every sheikh can attest to this, that we have a crisis amongst our communities and communities around the world of a surplus of qualified young ladies and ladies that are, middle age, whatnot, that want to get married. And they are more in percentage than the qualified men on the other side who want to get married. We have a surplus of women who are looking for good and decent husbands, and they're not finding them. And spinsterhood is increasing. And because of this, Misyar marriage is on the rise.
It's honestly a depressing experience trying to find someone again to marry in this religion. We see in the text that Hijab offered to introduce her to a Tunisian that he knew since he was 8 years old. Who is this Tunisian? Has he been single this whole time? Is he ugly? Does he need papers? Who knows? But there aren't usually good options for women. What is striking in her messages is that she appears desperate and is probably having a really tough time finding someone, like I did. I was not desperate though. I waited many, many years and had many failed potentials, people that were not good matches. I waited it out, guys. And when I finally did get remarried, look who I remarried. My amazing husband that I now have and I love very, very much. But anyways, let's get back to this. So you can see from the walls of text that she sends him, and yet he continues to reply to her saying, "Mashallah," and "I will call you later." Like, when you have a man getting messages like this from a woman who clearly likes him, he continues to engage. He knows what he's doing. He knows that he has her on the hook now. So yet again, we see the story is matching the text, at least the parts he was willing to show us. Now, she said she wasn't initially ready for polygamy, and from the look of it, she was struggling with this. But ultimately, she wanted a religious man, and it seems like she fell for him after many haram conversations that he engaged in as a religious leader, knowing she liked him, to the extent that it enabled him to marry her in a polygamous way where she would be disadvantaged. Here's a clip of Hijab's attitude towards second marriages, where he nonchalantly jokes that this marriage will break up, but he goes ahead and does the nikah anyways.
Honestly, someone comes to the office and say, "Listen, I need to get married, this and that." I say, "Listen, I need to go to the toilet. So this is going to have to be a quick one." I tell you the truth, I've even gotten people married on WhatsApp. And now there's a difference of opinion on the matter. But I was driving and this guy, he called me and he said, "Look, I'm going to commit haram." He goes, "I've got 2 witnesses ready on this WhatsApp group. Can I add you and you do the thing?" So I brought them in. I said to the woman, I said to her, "Listen, this guy's probably going to leave you. I know this guy." And he was like, "What are you doing? You're here to try and make things easy for me." I said, "But it's not fair on the poor woman, because we know that you're a pernicious man. You're a khabith." And I said, "What's the mahar?" And the guy said, you don't want to hear this one. This is before McDonald's was on the boycott list. He goes, "I'm going to give her a meal in McDonald's." I said, "Sister, don't do this." I said, "At least have something." No, she said, "I don't mind, I don't care, whatever. It happened, and he did, in fact, divorce her, unfortunately. But I said, "I told you so," and that was it.
Hijab, being the narcissist that he is, thought by sharing a screenshot showing that he warned her that these types of marriages tend to be bad for women, that this lets him off the hook. Now, remember, this was a text from years ago, probably before he was interested. And we don't know more recently what was said, because as we're going to see later, Hijab only wanted casual, no-string sex from this relationship with no responsibilities, aka Misyar. That's what he should have told her from the beginning.
It's not only that he gave me his words and he's famous. I took time. I thought about it very deeply. I ticked boxes, a very long list of boxes. His mother, his care of his family, the fact he was able to keep his family together for a very long time with his kids, and he memorized the whole Quran. He's in the front line of the Dawah. He's praised. There is a testimony of hundreds of scholars around the world who are praising him. He was placed in a position of marriage counseling, divorce in the Islamic Council. There were so many things. It was not for me just like the emotional element of it, because he expressed his feelings to me, but I had feelings for him too. It was not just that. For me, it was a very big, rigorous process that I took, based on which, at that stage, whatever promise he would make, I would trust him. إن قالها فقد صدق. I am excited. I am happy. I'm gonna have kids. And I was ready to have children. And we have the same ambition, the same lifestyle, the same priorities in life.
Obviously, I don't know Aisha, and I'm just reacting based on her story and what she says. I have no reason to believe that she is not being truthful, nor do I sense dishonesty from her either. To be honest, as this story evolves and unfolds, I have a feeling if Aisha has to retell this story over and over again, her story is going to be the same every single time. Someone who's lying will not be able to string together the same exact story every single time she retells it. She sounds like someone who really was just trying to find happiness again after going through some major life events and changes. She sounds like a mature, good mother, someone who cares about her life, her daughter, and her future. At the end of the day, aren't all of us just searching for meaning and happiness? She feels like Mohammed Hijab promised that he was a good match for her, that he could take care of her. He said all of the right things, had people praising him all over the world, and his Islamic lifestyle appealed to her.
All of a sudden, he stopped everything. He said, I think the best thing for me to do for you right now is that I wouldn't go ahead with this marriage. I was confused, especially after he opened up about his feelings. He spoke to my father. He's been pushing the idea forward. I had feelings for him too. I tried to get explanations from him, but he didn't give me any reply. So we stopped contact. It took me a very long time trying to recover, and we stopped contact completely. After like 8 months, he contacted me again. He apologized and said I couldn't go ahead with the marriage last time because I had personal reasons. I am back, I am here now. Let's go ahead with this. I am ready. Don't worry, we're gonna go ahead with this time. Let's just make things quick. And he was rushing up the process. Obviously, I told him you have to talk to my father again. And like, it was quite hard this time, especially that he told me he's not ready to make a big wedding back in my country. I told him that's okay. He said, I am not ready. I'm not able to go and meet your dad in person for personal reasons. And I trusted him. He said, let's do this over Zoom. It's actually halal. And you just have to convince your dad. But he told me I'm not ready to show my face. I was confused. I told him my dad is not going to agree to this.
Like I said earlier, this whole talking for the purpose of marriage is unstable, flaky, and sketchy at best. After all the sweet talk he did, leading her on, making her feel wanted, and as if there was some sort of chance for this to materialize, he pulls away and says, never mind. Now he randomly comes back after 8 months of not talking to her, wanting to do everything quickly, not having a wedding back in her country. All of these things are red flags in relationships, and I'm sure Aisha knows this, but she probably pushed down her doubts and skepticism because it's hijab, and she's clearly been single all this time. Also, I feel bad for her that she has an elderly father who cares about his daughter, and now she's going back to him a second time, saying, look who's back, it's Mohammed Hijab, who flaked on her and disappeared, now wanting marriage again. He said he doesn't want to talk to her dad, show his face, or meet him for personal reasons. Yeah, you know why? There's a reason why he doesn't want to meet her father again and face him. He has other plans for his daughter, and it doesn't involve a beautiful Islamic marriage where he genuinely loves Aisha and her daughter, wants to be a provider, and seeks to live out this flowery Dawah lifestyle with her. I can tell you what Mohammed Hijab wants. He wants sex. That's quite literally it. We saw this months and months ago in our video about the single mother sister who was approached for Misyar marriage by a Dawah guy. It's the same scenario all over again. Also, he says he wants to do the marriage over Zoom. I know that sounds incredibly weird for those of you who are not familiar with how these things work, but Islamic marriages can take place in a variety of settings, as you can see. You just need 2 male witnesses or 2 women and a man to make a nikah valid. You don't have to physically go to the masjid, but obviously it's a nice gesture to do it in person. The bride also has a chance to get dressed up, take pictures, all of these things that represent a wedding. Also, I find it hilarious that he wants to do a Zoom wedding. How cheap and low of him to do that. Again, this shows the value of Aisha to Muhammad Hijab. He can't get a flight to where she is and do this in the masjid in front of witnesses and family. When I got married as a Muslim, it was in a masjid, and I went out to eat afterwards and stayed at like a beautiful little cottage. Muhammad Hijab is going to be way more well off than most Muslim guys, so it's not like he can't afford to spoil Aisha a bit and give her the nikah of her dreams.
My father told him that my daughter and her child go together and they are a trust around your neck, an amana. He told them, don't worry, they are going to be in very safe hands. He promised that he's going to be meeting my family later. My dad gave me the permission to go ahead with the marriage. After we consummated the nikah, Muhammad Hijab kept on reassuring me, told me, look, I am here for this. There is nothing that could possibly make me act like those players or those men that are incapable or not going to preserve their families and so on. And he told me, regardless of what could possibly happen, I'm going to preserve this family. Gradually, the new rules showed. He's not going to speak to my family ever because he's Islamically not obliged to, he said. It's not necessary. It's going to give us more freedom. And he worked on convincing me of that opinion, Islamic opinion. I actually didn't even have to let them know that we did go ahead with the marriage. And that way we're going to have more freedom. Then he told me, look, let's just book a flight and go out of the country and just forget about that. Let's just have a good, free life. And you're not going to have to explain yourself to anyone. Most of the marriages break because of the in-laws. Let's just not add more in-laws in the picture.
So her father has stressed the importance of Aisha and her daughter being a package deal, as they should be. I've said this before and I'll say this again. Divorced and widowed mothers are seen as bottom of the barrel in Islam. When you convert to Islam, you learn about Muhammad's wives being divorced and widowed. You learn that all of his marriages except Aisha were divorced and widowed women. The Prophet says to take care of widows, yada yada. It sounds nice, like there's a high regard for vulnerable women in this society. Let me tell you though, this is simply not true in reality unless you have some serious connections in the community. If your husband dies, you will never be treated the same way as a wife of a famous sheikh who dies. I actually met a sister whose husband was murdered in cold blood. She was a convert with a baby. There were no donations or anyone out there caring for this poor young girl and her child. These situations are all too common. Widows and single mothers being the forgotten members of this society. This girl was so depressed too, I remember. She struggled to get out of bed and live every day. And I still think about her and I hope she's okay. I get vibes from Aisha that she's just another sad story of a divorced single Muslim mom who fell into a trap. And Muhammad Hijab keeps reassuring her that he's here for her. This is the real deal. I am married, obviously, and my husband never has to tell me over and over again that he's here for me. He just is. And I know that I can count on him because I trust him and he loves me deeply. If your relationship is stable and genuine, constantly reassuring the person won't be necessary. Muhammad Hijab saying he's not a player is simply a projection. He is a player. So he says that and is actually projecting onto Aisha. All of this talk about getting on a plane and living a good free life sounds like he's just doing damage control. He's probably conflicted about how long he should let this marriage go on, if at all. So while he's deciding, why not take a vacation and put a band-aid on Aisha's worries?
After the nikah, Muhammad Hijab wanted a sex marriage. He wanted a hotel marriage. But it didn't stop there. There was more to come. He told me, listen, just act like a girlfriend. We're going to have like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Don't worry, it's halal. We're married now. He wasn't asking about my rent, my provision. He never asked about those and never offered to pay for them. Then he went on a trip, a Dawah trip, and he told me that he was not ready to argue about my family situation. He said, don't worry, just delay it. We're going to talk about it when I come back. So we carried on. We had like interactions like a husband and wife. And I was waiting for him to come back in order for him to talk to my family and get their blessings. But I told them, my father is going to ask me now if we did go ahead with the marriage. I have to give him a reply. He told me, just lie. Delay it. Tell him we didn't go ahead with it yet. I was stuck because I can't talk to my father and tell him, well, the man I told you to blindly trust and sign a contract with him for marriage doesn't want to talk to you because he's Islamically not obliged to.
Did you catch that? Just lie. Say, we didn't get married yet. More red flag behavior from the champion of Dawah. And did you catch that last part about don't have to talk to your family because I'm not Islamically obliged to? You see how people's morals go out the window after following Islam? They suddenly think, Islam doesn't say I have to do this, as if that's how the world works. Do you not have a heart? Do you not listen to it? Muhammad Hijab decides to drop a bombshell on Aisha post-nikah, that he wants a sex-only marriage and a hotel marriage. First, I want to explain that this is not muta, okay? Muta is a temporary marriage that Shia Muslims practice. I wanted to point that out and educate everyone about this. This type of sex-only marriage that Muhammad Hijab is referring to is called Misyar marriage. If you want to learn more about how degrading and awful this type of marriage is, we have a video about that for you. So let me explain what a Misyar marriage is, okay? A Misyar marriage, first of all, should absolutely be a type of marriage that is discussed before the nikah, not after everything is said and done like Muhammad Hijab did. That's really shady and gross. A Misyar marriage, unlike a muta, does not have an expiration date, and the woman will give up some of her Islamic rights, like the right to housing and financial maintenance. That's why he wants to meet her in hotels, because he doesn't want her living with him or providing for her. Islamically, the man is supposed to provide, but since he has now dropped it on her that this is a Misyar marriage, he doesn't have to give her anything at all. Basically, anything a traditional marriage has that creates a life and security is gone. A Misyar can go on for as long as the person wants, but it is known to have a high failure rate, according to Yasser Qadi, like 90% chance of not working out. Also, according to Yasser Qadi, guess who is going to suffer in this type of marriage the most? That's right, the woman. The whole providing for your spouse in Islam thing is a very sharp, double-edged sword. Ladies, don't buy into this. It's not worth giving up the opportunity to be educated and independent so a man who can take more wives, leave you, or die can provide. Don't depend on these men, no matter what. Holding your hand out for money or anything else you need from your spouse is a recipe for disaster in this religion. Depending on men or hoping for a man to care about you is never the answer, as Aisha is going to find out with Muhammad Hijab.
Your sister is just going to be jealous of you. She's older, she's never been married before. You're going to get used to this situation. It's halal, there is nothing wrong with it. Why are you making things difficult? Don't worry, I'm going to try not to get you pregnant. This is a real relationship. I'm going to keep this like this for the rest of our life. I told him, are you going to change this for what you promised me at a later time? He said, no. This arrangement works the best for me, and I have no intention of changing it. As soon as he said that, I asked for divorce. He confirmed that he had no intention of paying the bills or the rent. He said, you didn't ask me for that when we were getting married. He said that he just wanted to have full discretion. Everything is up to him. He will never change the hotel ever. He will never speak to my family ever. He's not going to be paying for anything. And we're not going to have kids. Not going to be taking care of my daughter. Nothing. We're never going to have a home.
Okay, this is rookie stuff. Trying to make her feel assured by saying her older sister will be jealous if she knows about them because she was never married before. That is truly stupid, but anyways, let's keep moving along here. Also, that whole not trying to get her pregnant. Red flags galore. If this was a real marriage, true love, why would it matter if she gets pregnant? She's his wife, and every single time they have unprotected sex, there's a chance for pregnancy. Like, what would he have done if she did get pregnant? Force her to have an abortion? This whole thing is just pure manipulation and narcissism. Narcissism, specifically grandiose, can often manifest as a sense of entitlement, which we can see in his pursuit of a sex-only marriage, while at the same time being entitled and believing that Aisha is not good enough to be a real wife, like he deserves better or something. Mohammed Hijab is also low in agreeableness, which we also see. Aisha said that he is the one who made the decision without her as to what type of marriage this is, whether or not he helps financially, and where this marriage will ultimately head. There wasn't any room for compromise. Narcissists also do not like to share, even if the resource they have can't be depleted, which makes sense as to why Hijab did not want to pay for anything for Aisha or her daughter. Vile. If the audios are real on Hijab's fake channel, no wonder she cursed him out. She probably felt used and abused and is rightfully angry at him.
Every word he uttered was trauma for me. Every single one of them harmed me, carved wounds inside my heart. I was sick. I was traumatized. I was shocked. I was not ready to hear that. I asked for divorce, and he gave it to me. And he was very angry. He said, why are you refusing something that is halal? This is Misyar. Why are you not accepting it? He was very angry. He said, what am I going to tell my friends now? And I was confused. You have completely destroyed my life, my emotions, my mental health, my physical health, my social interactions. I broke. There is no one to take care of my daughter at all. I was completely broken. Many years of interactions, nice promises, speaking to my father and promising him many nice things, telling me that there is love in this and so on. And at the end, that's what I ended up with. After we argued a lot after our divorce, he told me, look, I can take you back if you want to accept what I asked from you. I said, obviously, I will never accept something like that. I couldn't even believe that he was asking me something like that at all. I was sick. After some time, again, during my iddah, he told me, okay, look, I'm going to fix up everything now. Going to involve your family and all those things that we agreed to. I couldn't trust him anymore. I contacted the sheikh and I was like, I really don't know what I have to do. I don't know whether or not to trust him anymore. In our final interaction, he was like, look, that arrangement of meeting in hotels is what I was looking for. And I thought you are the best suitor for that kind of marriage. It is halal. And that's the only arrangement that works for me. And I'm really sorry, but that's all what I wanted. He called it sex marriage. He called it a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And all of these things were mentioned after he got married to me. After he dragged me emotionally for years.
It's so interesting that when she asked for a divorce, he gave it to her. It doesn't sound like much of a struggle because the jig is up now. She figured out the trick and one's out and he can't stop her. Do you know what is the most interesting part of this specific interaction? Mohammed Hijab said, what will I tell my friends? He doesn't care at all about what Aisha will tell her friends or family, only how this affects him and makes him look. But later on, he seems to change his tune. If I had to guess, maybe for a moment, he was having some anxiety about how this would affect his image, aka the reason I am here today reacting to this video. Also, he couldn't give up on the idea of easy sex with not giving anything back. Great Dawah guy, right? Using single moms for sex. And wow, Islam is so beautiful. Like he kept repeating over and over, this is halal. Islam allows me to do this. Why are you upset? Why are you angry and complaining? This is all halal. So much for protecting women. Islam is useless.
This shows you that Islam is trying to create a situation where every type of person can be married and find a spouse. That's what Islam is trying to do. It wants to keep people away from zina. It wants to facilitate all kinds of marriages.
Yeah, apparently Islam wants to facilitate men like him using women. So much for Islam being good for humanity. If this is allowed, it throws out the whole women being treated equally in the Quran. So why bother with the religion at all? We only have Aisha's story to go off of here, but if I had to guess, Muhammad Hijab might have had some anxiety about this. Again, worrying about how this would make him look. If he tries to take her back and says he's going to deliver on what he originally promised, well, if it falls apart again, at least he can say he tried being reasonable with her. At the end, he will walk away with an unscathed reputation, and people will continue to worship him. Most narcissists do not take criticism well either, guys, so it makes sense he would backtrack.
For him, I was giving up on so many real options for marriage. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to take care of myself. I needed guardianship, me and my daughter, because I can't play both roles. I was struggling a lot. This is the guy I got married to, and I thought, alhamdulillah, finally I am safe. Muhammad Hijab was the only man in this country I could ever possibly trusted this much. He knew everything about my life, my ambition, my background, my family. He knew everything. He knew my father is a very old man. He knew that I would struggle a lot to find a suitable husband because there is no one to help me vet anybody. He reassured me a lot about all of these details. Told me, you are in safe hands. I will take very good care of you, keep you safe. He told me I am not like those men who trash women the next day.
This is the downfall of talking to someone for the sake of marriage, or even a nikah like this, where the man doesn't disclose his intentions for you until afterwards. Aisha wasted years of her life on Muhammad Hijab for nothing. Instead of playing these games of talking for marriage, then he disappears, then he comes back for marriage, doesn't want to talk to her family after marriage, then threatens divorce, and he tries to reconcile. She could have just dated in the regular Western world and met someone normal. In Islamic marriages, so many shady, awful things can happen, and this is just one of them. It is permissible to lie to your wife. You do not have to tell your first wife you're going to get a second wife. And that is exactly what Muhammad Hijab did. He lied to her. I am using the term wife very loosely here as well, because this is far from what a wife should be.
He told me that he fights against feminism. After he married me, he wanted me to be independent. He told me if I take care of all the women around me and I deal with all their needs, I'm never going to be able to do anything for the da'wah. He didn't want to pay for the bills. He said, you didn't ask for it during the nikah. He wanted me to play both the role of a man and a woman in my life. He used to fight the red pill movement. And now he was using their own statements with me. It's okay, you're gonna get used to it, boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. I don't think that there is anyone who could ever possibly get to understand the degree of damage this whole thing has caused me. Muhammad Hijab for me was a representation of 23 years of da'wah. For me, he was a role model. He was a man of knowledge. He was someone I respected and I did put at a very high scale. I followed this exact same process that we normally use, based on which we get to trust men of religion who are sharing with us the Quran and Sunnah.
The reason this hurt her so bad is because she saw traditional gender roles as appealing. She wanted a man to provide for her and her daughter, even if she only got to be with him half of the time. But in reality, she didn't even get that. Not even that 50% scrap. Muhammad Hijab says he's fighting feminism and that appealed to her. A lot of Muslim women parrot this, and it's a common saying throughout the Muslim community. Muslim women, when you talk about feminism and rights, they will say that Islam came and gave them rights before any type of feminism. Now, I am not some raging feminist over here, but at a very basic level, feminism is simply men and women having equal rights. Islam says that men and women are not equal. Islam is not based on an understanding of men and women being equal in a marriage. That's why Aisha keeps saying he refuses to pay the bills or help with rent and care about her daughter. She sees Islam from this traditional lens of a man providing for a woman, but obviously hijab doesn't even want to do that. Unfortunately, this is the way a lot of Muslim women find out that these so-called rights are just lies. The men have rights. The right to decide marriage, divorce, concoct some bogus Misyar marriage. Aisha is a victim of her own optimism about Islam and women. And she found out through this increasingly popular marriage practice, Misyar, that she's about as valuable as the dirt on the bottom of a hijab shoe. And then, ironically, hijab not just fights feminism, but he also fights the opposite of feminism, the red pill movement. Make it make sense, guys.
When I realized that I was going through an extremely horrible mental health crisis, I reached out to one of the shuyukh. I just wanted someone to help me understand what happened. My trauma did grow even bigger because Muhammad's hijab's reaction to that was crazy. He started threatening me as well to silence me openly. He was like, listen, if you're going to expose this, I can get away with it. I can say anything as an excuse. And you're not gonna get nothing from that. No one is gonna have pity on you. Women will not. Men will not. I can give any excuse. I can tell them I was sexually not satisfied. In fact, I don't even have to give any excuse whatsoever. I gave you a mahr. There were 2 witnesses. That's it. Done. It was sealed. I'm safe. I never ever imagined these kind of actions would come from him, ever. Anyone, but not him. So he followed a list of Islamic rulings as he claims, and nothing of what he did was actually haram. It's Islamically alright to give false promises to a woman you intend to get married to. You're Islamically not obliged to fulfill those promises. You are not obliged Islamically to speak to your in-laws. You don't even have to ask for their blessings after the nikah and congratulations. It's Islamically okay to live in a hotel. A husband can go to wherever he wants with his wife. He's not obliged to pay for anything. He's not obliged to provide because I didn't need provision. It's Islamically okay not to have kids. The Sahaba used to avoid having kids. It's Islamically okay to keep everything secret, to preserve the marriage. Even if you are to show up in the hotel separately and come out from it separately. The shuyukh I reached out to them made me even more traumatized.
Remember that grandiose narcissism I talked about earlier? We are seeing it again with that whole sense of entitlement hijab has. This inflated sense of self. You see, I am so great that if you expose this, you will be the one that suffers and nothing will happen to me. Why will nothing happen to me? Well, because I am so simply amazing. His lack of empathy here shows that he's not only callous, but emotionally distant. He could care less what happens if Aisha exposes this, because in the end, her feelings and what happened to her don't matter.
Some of them said, he is right. All these things are halal, as long as the 4 pillars of nikah were met. You can't know what his intention is. But his intention is actually very clear. This is a no-string marriage. He said that with the intention of divorce. He articulated that. He encouraged others to go for these options. He openly and proudly said there is nothing wrong with marriage with the intention of divorce. And through deception, because actually a man is not obliged to Islamically fulfill his promises. There were no actions taken. I asked for help. I wanted these things to be resolved between scholars. I asked for justice. I wanted there to be actions taken. I was harmed. My life was harmed. He completely destroyed me and he was proud of it.
Again, the shocking discrepancies in how she sees Islam and how scholars are showing her how little Islam cares for her or other women. That level of cognitive dissonance that this perfect religion is bad must be hurting even worse than this betrayal. I am not the least bit surprised that the scholars and sheikhs that Aisha consulted with stuck up for hijab. Just being honest here. There were some turning points for me with my journey in Islam as well, listening to people defend clear wrongdoings of others by saying it's halal in Islam. For example, let's say someone is marrying you for papers only. I have seen this a lot in the community. There are people out there who will say that such a marriage is halal because one of the reasons you marry someone in Islam can be for their status. Being a US citizen is a status, one that someone can marry you for, then divorce after he gets what he wants. Khalas. No wrongdoing here. I have a feeling, by what Aisha is saying here, that these Misyar marriages are becoming very popular in the underbelly of the Dawah scene. It's an easy and completely halal way for men who want sexual variety to get it. There's no limit to any number of Misyar marriages you have over the course of your lifetime, as long as you stay within the limit of 4 wives.
Our elites and people who are at the front of this work, they have to be held accountable. It's the silence of scholars and lack of accountability and complete scrutiny that creates monsters. I wanted to have a good life, I wanted to have a family, I wanted to be happy. You have completely destroyed my life and that of my daughter. All the ambition and emotions and dreams I had for religion, I wanted to be part of. Everything that I wanted in my life, that is completely destroyed because of you. I do ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the judge. I am never going to forgive you. Every breath of time that I have gone throughout all these years, because of you, in your falsehood, in your oppression, in your transgression, I do ask Allah subhanahu azza wa jal to pay me back for that. I will never forgive you.
Unfortunately, there is way more corruption than where that came from. Once in a while, we see it leak out on social media from people like Imam Nick in that Texas mosque, Justin Parrott exposing Yaqeen Institute, and now Aisha exposing Muhammad. However, the silence continues to be deafening. The scholars do not care, nor do I think they will start to care anytime soon. They are going to continue collecting hundreds of thousands, if not millions in donations, doing God knows what with them, while people in their communities continue to suffer like this. They are going to continue profiting off of their Umrah trips, showcasing the Friday Shahadas at their masjid, but never acknowledge the abuse and pain that elites in their communities inflict upon others. I have a feeling the avalanche of apostasy is going to become the tsunami of apostasy with treatment like this. Aisha's story is not just a one-off scandal. It's a glimpse into the hypocrisy rotting at the core of the Dawah elite. These men preach piety, modesty, virtue, but behind closed doors, they exploit religious loopholes for personal gain. Misyar marriage is just one of the many tools in their toolkit, a halal facade for emotional manipulation and sexual convenience. And because it's technically allowed, the community turns a blind eye. What happened to Aisha could happen to any vulnerable woman who genuinely believes the Islamic system is built to protect her. It's not. It's built to protect men like Muhammad Hijab. So next time you hear these Dawah men talk about the sanctity of marriage or the rights of women in Islam, remember Aisha. Remember her pain, her voice, and how she was discarded like she never mattered. The silence from the top is not neutrality, it's complicity. And to those of you still in the community, still holding on, ask yourself, how many stories like Aisha do you need to hear before you realize the system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed? This video was important to me, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to give something back, please join our Patreon. Here are our amazing patrons who continue to support the channel, plus many others who don't wish to be named. These are the true heroes. Thanks for watching. This is Mrs. Friendly Ex-Muslim signing out.